Hey anime fans, this is Chris Boltz, and I'm coming in with a video to follow up on a video that I did back in the day, one of my very first videos. And looking at your earlier videos, you kind of start critiquing yourself and thinking, you know what, I definitely could have improved in certain areas, could have did a little bit more editing on this, could have been a little more knowledgeable on what it was I was speaking about. And this is in regards to the bill that was passed out in Texas, the controversial bill SB 20, which basically a lot of YouTubers, content creators are saying basically will outlaw anime in the state of Texas. And the reason why I'm doing a follow-up video on this is two things. I got a comment on this video that just came up recently. Let me put myself back up there. I just wanted you guys to see my pretty face back when I was wearing a red shirt. This video came out 3 months ago. Anyways, I got a comment right here from one of the viewers of my video, and he said right here, I get your counterclaims to the comments, but you got to come up with better responses than, no, it won't work. Okay, so it won't work. Why? Just dismissing the comment with no do better, his locution, is not enough for you to convince me you're any more correct in your opinion. But my response to them is, hyperbole is never a good form of argument. How can I address hyperbole when there are no real world examples in the United States of censoring content leading to authoritarianism? As I mentioned in the video, if you are against the bill, you need to argue from a position of nuance and fact, not from hyperbole, especially when the bill has unanimous support. And he really was talking about my response to this guy right here. I'm Paul Blart. So let me go ahead and let that part play. Paul Blart says, I'm a Texan and an artist. I am absolutely against this ban. It will lead to authoritarian policing of content. No, it won't. Restriction on artistic vision and expression. Sometimes it can be restricted. Sometimes, right? Creation of underground communities like the Prohibition era. No, it won't lead to that. And an impeachment of representatives who supported the ban. Nah, it won't lead to that. This again, come up with better arguments and don't sit there and make stupid arguments like it'll lead to authoritarianism when it. Okay, so you heard that. I still stand by those words. Saying that this bill will lead to authoritarianism, it will lead to impeachment of people who supported the ban, it will lead to underground things going on, or underground fight clubs, for lack of a better term. All of that is hyperbole, and you really can't sit there and say that that is going to happen. And the difference here being, he said something about the Prohibition era. The difference between the Prohibition era and what's happening with this Texas bill is that the Prohibition, that was due to a constitutional amendment. I think it was the 18th Amendment that outlawed the sale of alcohol throughout the entire country. And what a lot of people don't know about that constitutional amendment was that it actually worked. America did dry up for a moment there. They completely dried up. Were there criminals who still engaged in criminal activity of alcohol and whatnot? The speakeasies, the moonshiners and all that? Yes, all that still happened. Do criminal activity when they can get away with it without having to worry about any type of pushback from the law. That's not happening here for Texas. It's just being limited to Texas, first of all. And secondly, we still don't know what exact impact it will have on anime or any other form of artistic expression within the state of Texas. So we still gotta wait on these things and not just jump to hyperbole. You can't really argue hyperbole with a bill that has gotten unanimous support. So I still stand by that argument. And that brings me to a video that was done by Chibi Reviews, and he purposely titled his video, Anime is Getting Banned in the United States Tomorrow, I'm Serious. That is a hyperbolic position. He makes this title in regards to Texas Senate Bill 20. If this bill passes in Texas, it is only going to be law in Texas. It is not going to be law anywhere else in the United States of America. And I wanted to go ahead and look at this video. It's a pretty short video, but before I do get into that, do make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. All that stuff really does help me out. On the whole, Chibi Reviews is a good content creator. He's got 485,000 subscribers, so he knows a thing or two about what he's doing. I just don't support hyperbole. One of the biggest criticisms about Trump is that he likes to engage in hyperbole. Sometimes hyperbole is very effective in getting us to focus on an issue, but at the same time, you really can't argue against hyperbole or for a hyperbolic position because it is purposely outlandish. And I think that is the same right here with this title of anime is getting banned in the United States tomorrow. Because if anime plays tomorrow, if I'm able to wake up and turn on my Crunchyroll and start watching anime, I'm like, okay, doesn't that kind of hit your credibility just a little bit? And it's kind of interesting. I don't see Crunchyroll really getting all that excited about this bill either. You would think that the biggest distributor of anime in the entire country would be balls to the wall on Texas Senate Bill 20 and anything associated with that because it's going to harm their business. Texas is a giant state. It has a lot of influence in the country. So you would think Crunchyroll would be involved in this and everything like that. In fact, let's go ahead and search and see if there is a position that Crunchyroll has on Texas Bill SB 20. Okay, so I'm looking at all this right here, and I don't see anything associated with Crunchyroll. Why is it that Crunchyroll is not worried about this bill, but all of anime content creators who watch anime is? That's kind of interesting. But let's go back over here to Chibi Reviews and let's let him go ahead and have his say and take a listen.
How does it keep getting worse, man? It keeps getting worse. The Texas Senate Bill 20 has passed. This is the very bill I talked about earlier this year that you probably recall me talking about extensively, that anime, manga, games could theoretically get banned. For instance, you know, if you watch something like Naruto or Dragon Ball, Bleach, or let's say you watch Family Guy or The Simpsons, you might get arrested. You could go to jail for owning or watching these said series because of this Texas Senate bill that would pass. But as you can see, it did pass. It passed on June 20th, 2025, and it is a moderate partisan bill, which means Republicans and Democrats both voted for it. But to go even further, it comes into effect tomorrow, September 1st, 2025.
That basically means that Governor Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, signed the bill into law. It passed with unanimous support. And this is where I talk about the hyperbole again. He's mentioning Family Guy, The Simpsons, a lot of other American animation, anime, of course, video games. Like, no, the bill has not had any type of impact on any of that whatsoever. We will have to keep an eye out on this to see exactly what's going to happen with this going forward. Tomorrow, September 1st, is Labor Day. I bet you none of that stuff comes to pass. And if any of that stuff comes to pass, do you think that Chibi Reviews will come back out and say, hey, you know what? I got this one wrong. Let's go ahead and finish.
And we already see how it's affecting people. Don't believe me? Let me show you proof. So this is Jast, a pretty big company that, you know, houses a lot of, let's say, anime games and houses a lot of adult anime games as well. And they went to an anime convention, you can see by their post, and you know what, let's just read it. After a very successful Friday, we were banned from the San Japan Convention in San Antonio, Texas this weekend. Our content is too provocative for the powerful of the Lone Star State, ahead of the anti-anime bill SB 20 going into effect on Monday. Tomorrow is Monday. So what?
This sounds like they just banned themselves. This thing right here just sounds like they banned themselves. It doesn't sound like they actually were banned by San Japan. Okay, I just typed this in. I didn't see anything in regards to San Japan banning anybody. You know, we could try to give them a call. It looks like welcome to San Japan 16. It takes place August 29th to August 31st. So wait a minute, this is already taking place now. This takes place ahead of the ban. So what's going on right here? This convention does not take place after September 1st. It takes place before. Even if it went to that extent, they would still be able to attend this convention. There's nothing here that says that San Japan banned any booths from attending. Again, I don't know exactly what's going on right here. Why? Well, I know why they're trying to make a statement. They just can't go in there and just say, hey, we've decided to pull out of this convention because we're protesting against Senate Bill 20 passing. I probably can't show a lot of what's going on there. Let's go down right here. So they admit it right here, where this guy asked, Pervert Slime asked, what a good screen name, were you banned as a quote precaution, or did they send you legal evidence that you won't be able to host your content? I want to know if the bill really is that broad or it's just uptight staff. And Jast responds, the law wasn't involved, no arrests, no charges, no prosecutions, no trials or convictions. Honestly, I'll be surprised if anyone ever gets charged under this law. Its power is in this sort of private and self-censorship, not actually having cops arrest people for anime. So even Jast admits that this law probably isn't as broad as it is being led to be. And once again, like I said, Crunchyroll has not made any hide nor hair about this law. Crunchyroll hosts put a lot of stuff that is pretty raunchy. One of my favorite anime for the last season was Please Put Them On Takemine-san. That was pretty risque for Crunchyroll. They also still do have High School DD on there. It's hyperbole once again. And then someone follows up. Still, Yumi follows up. Still, we have only had one person in the United States arrested for possession of loli, which is correct. I made another video about that. Banned because of law. Law wasn't involved. So which is it? See, their own chat is calling them out, and Chibi Reviews is repeating this as though it's fact. This is dishonest right here.
What does this mean in the grand scheme of things? Well, first off, we need to talk about Jast's situation. So from my understanding, this company, this group that has a lot of adult games, has a lot of, icky adult games, has, adult content and stuff and anime content, they were banned from a convention. Which is very strange because from my understanding, Jast has always went to a bunch of different conventions over the years. I'm assuming they've been to San Japan Convention in San Antonio quite a bit over the years. I don't know necessarily, do not quote me on that one, but I know for a fact they probably visit a lot of different conventions around the country. The thing is to randomly get banned from a convention, and then the bill that is potentially going to affect all anime and manga coming into effect this upcoming Monday, it feels perfectly timed. Now this could be a coincidence, and what Jast is saying here could just be chalked up to a coincidence. Because they do outline and say that the anti-anime bill SB 20 is going into effect Monday. So it seems to me like they're more or less trying to blame the bill, or they're saying that, this is happening right before the bill goes in effect. And regardless if it was the law or not that caused this, the point of the matter is maybe the people within the convention center, they didn't want Jast there because of the adult content and the complications it might cause thanks to the bill going into effect this upcoming Monday.
I just showed you guys, by their own admission, Jast has basically said the law wasn't involved, which basically means that no one at that convention told them they weren't welcome. The period of time that this convention took place was from August 29th to August 31st. So right now, going by the most extreme interpretation of the law, Jast was still able to attend San Japan for the entire 3-day period. In fact, within the very first conversation that they just covered up right here, they say they had a very successful Friday right here. After a very successful Friday. So they did attend on Friday, but no one told them they were banned. They took it upon themselves to not attend at all. And Pervert Slime once again asked them, were you banned as a precaution? Jast says, no, that didn't happen. And somebody follows up, banned because of law or law wasn't involved. So which is it? Need some clarification, and was it your choice? If not, who pressured you? Sorry, just getting mixed signals here. So it's like they took this upon themselves to go in there and take this stupid action, and now Chibi Reviews is reporting on it as though they were banned by the convention themselves, when in fact it sounds like the convention didn't ban these guys at all. They were just trying to go out there and do a stupid protest like so many dumb leftists nowadays, wanting to protest everything, and this is their form of protest. And even their own followers, which I'm pretty sure are probably leftists themselves, are like, you know what, nah, you kind of did this to yourself. and nobody else did this to you. Let's let Chibi go ahead and finish.
Whatever the case may be, the point of the matter is it happened. And they have been banned. Now, what does this mean going forward? So we need to talk about what SB 20 actually represents and what it's going to be doing once it comes into effect. Because from what Jast has mentioned, it's implied that they were affected to some degree. Now, once again, it could be a coincidence, but it's implied. Now, when this bill goes into effect, and the reason why a lot of people are worried about it, is because of the vagueness of its bill. Even the summary here, which you can just read yourself, pause the video and read yourself, it's extremely vague. Crunchyroll is headquartered in Texas as well, so SB 20 theoretically is going to hit Crunchyroll, and a bunch of their anime on their platform is probably going to get hit. Like, a bunch of their stuff might get censored or...
So that makes it even more important. If Crunchyroll is based in Texas, why in the world is Crunchyroll not more animated about the impact of this bill? I wonder if Crunchyroll actually had a hand in helping write this bill. Who knows? Because there's no type of comment from Crunchyroll on this bill whatsoever. Crunchyroll, like, again, is the biggest distributor of anime content in the country, and Netflix is probably going to challenge it for that. That's another one. Netflix didn't probably hasn't made any comment on this. Neither has Disney through Hulu Plus. They haven't made a comment. Viz Media, all these big American companies that are involved in anime have not made any type of mention about the impact of this bill on them in Texas. If they're not making that big of a stink of this, why are we in the anime community making a big stink about it? We should probably wait for just a little bit more information, or wait for this law to actually go into effect and see how it actually operates before we go down that road of just blaming everything on this bill for banning anime in the country. Come on now, let's be real here.
Removed thanks to the bill coming into effect tomorrow within Texas. I believe there is a lawsuit as well that was in like court a long time ago that passed, where pretty much this entire bill, SB 20, is kind of unconstitutional. And a lot of people believe that this bill really wouldn't go anywhere. It'd be instantly challenged and thrown out because of just how it would probably break a lot of different laws. Now, in the writing of the bill, what it tries to do is more or less ban provocative or obviously things that might resemble a child within a series. The point of the matter is that the bill is so vague that it could affect stuff like Family Guy, Simpsons, Naruto, Dragon Ball, Bleach. You get the point. And the reason why I say it affects those series, let's think about what it's trying to do. Like these obscure or obscenity visual material. Stewie, within Family Guy, obviously would not fly thanks to this bill that's in Texas. Simpsons has a lot of content similar. Dragon Ball has a lot of characters that are kids. Like, let's think about, go on, what he goes through. Or Videl, technically. Like, what Videl goes through. There's ways to view this that obviously would get series instantly banned, or you get instantly arrested for even possessing these series.
If that's the case, they could have done all that by now. There's all kinds of laws on the books already that protect kids, or protect the material that display kids in certain forms of fashion on the books in several states and at the federal level, as I explained in my prior video. And it hasn't happened. That's because we have this thing called judgment. South Park could probably qualify under it. South Park is one of the raunchiest kid shows on there that uses kids to deliver its message. The Simpsons has been around probably longer than Chibi has been born. Family Guy constantly getting canceled, renewed, canceled, renewed, canceled, renewed. Finally, just ultimately it stuck. Don't know why, because Family Guy, I never understood the popularity of that show, but I digress. All of that could have still been happening all this time because there are already laws on the books on that. I don't think that's going to happen even after this goes into effect tomorrow. Again, we got to look at the grand picture here. Why is Paramount with South Park, and why not Disney, who now owns Simpsons and Family Guy, not raising a stink about this bill in Texas. This is once again why I keep saying we can't argue from a position of hyperbole. You got to have good reasoned arguments as to why this bill should not have passed, or rather now that it has passed, why it needs to be repealed. But just going off in there saying, oh, all this stuff is going to happen when it hasn't happened before in the past, and more than likely it's not going to happen in the future. You got to sit there and have real world examples of somebody being harmed by this bill. And so far, the biggest companies in the country that could potentially be harmed by this bill haven't raised a stink about it.
In your home, or even getting caught watching them, so to speak. So pretty much, this bill is so vague, so broad, that it hurts a lot of anime, a lot of manga, a lot of games as well, because if there's games that have any depiction of someone that might be a kid within it, it's gonna get banned. So, that's the problem. And once again, this law was passed, I want to point this out, this law was passed because of one thing in particular. Think of the children. Think of the children. We must protect the children. I'm going to say it again. Anime isn't real. Manga isn't real. Games are not real. People that can't separate fiction from reality are mentally ill. It's not the game's fault. It's not the anime's fault. It's not the manga's fault. It's their own fault because they are mentally ill and they can't separate fiction from reality. People that think fiction is real need to honestly go to an asylum. Straight up. Because they need to take some meds. They're a schizo. This is insane. Because this is the very thing that I've been talking about for over a month now. Like with everything that's been going on with the UK, to EU, to what's happening in Brazil, America now, Canada, Australia. This is another effect. And this is now happening in Texas. Now, I do believe that this bill is going to kind of start off small. It's very likely it'll start off small, ban little things here and there that might go under the radar and people might not be aware of, but then it might ramp up with time if there's not a lot of pushback, and it might spread itself to other states.
And there's the little head right there. That's basically his little head. Well, if this doesn't really work out the way I think it's going to work out, then, it's going to start off small, then it's going to probably get big and everything like that. So you really can't say that. Even though I made this really big hyperbolic statement for my title, well, if it doesn't get banned tomorrow, well, it's because it's going to start off small, then it's going to get really big. Probably this video probably wouldn't get that many views if you led with that, as opposed to saying anime is getting banned in the United States tomorrow. I'm serious. I'm just saying.
Around the United States. If this happens in the United States and there's like no pushback, it will spread. It will spread to other states. It will spread to other countries. And I do think that there is going to be some court battles that potentially happen thanks to this. I remember a few lawyers talking to me in private saying that there's no way this would be passed, and even if it did, it would be instantly challenged because of previous court.
Well, those lawyers sound like they're wrong because the law passed, and I probably would not expect that there'll be too many challenges on this law. But what do I know? I'm not a lawyer. I'm just looking at a bill that got bipartisan support, that got signed into law by the governor with hardly any pushback. No pushback from the major distributors of anime in the country, of manga in the country. Everybody's just like, if these companies, Crunchyroll, and I'm just going to use Crunchyroll because Crunchyroll's based in Texas. If Crunchyroll did not push back on this prior to this bill passing, then why would they push back on this bill going forward into the future? It's already there. They've already made their position known that it doesn't bother them. And as far as the constitutionality of this, there's so much case law that's already been settled, the district, at the appeal, and at the Supreme Court level, that even though it's within the Constitution, there can be some regulations here and there regarding speech, regarding association, regarding freedom of press, regarding even the Second Amendment. To sit there and say that this bill will automatically be deemed unconstitutional without it being challenged yet is also a wrong place to start. Obviously, Texas thought this is constitutional because they passed it. And the governor, who I think is a lawyer himself, signed it into law. There was no pushback. So they obviously think that the law is constitutional. It's narrow enough to pass constitutional muster. Think of the kids. That's their narrowing argument. Almost anywhere within the country, there's not going to be that much pushback on laws that regulate content that is specifically geared towards kids, or that can put kids in a very, compromised position when there's obscene material involved.
Cases and stuff with obscenity laws, but even in the fact that it passed showcases the corruption and what our government's doing under the radar and using the disguise of think of the children as a means to restrict people, restrict freedom of expression, so to speak. This is not good. Don't like this whatsoever. And yeah, I just what's this year, man? What is 2025, dude? I'm so tired, man. I'm so tired. It just like it's one thing after another. If it's not this, it's payment processors ruining people's livelihoods, or it's UK invading people's privacies, or there's just people being labeled a terrorist if you even have your own country's flag. You're waving your country's flag. It's just insanity, man. Actual insanity. I'll leave it at that, though. If you...
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I will leave a link to his video in the description. Most of this stuff I don't agree with. Even though in principle, I agree with the fact that we should have as little censorship as possible on certain types of material within the country and everything like that. But the thing is, if you want to argue from a position of strength, you can't use hyperbole. Is the last thing you want to do. That's why, and I don't want me to make this political or anything like that, but this is the best example I can think of. That's why, even though Donald Trump uses a lot of hyperbole to describe a lot of the positions that he holds and that he sees out there, he's not a very effective communicator in that regard, because the minute he uses hyperbole, it turns people off. But then he has the more refined Vice President, J.D. Vance, who can go in there and look at these issues and be able to explain the president's position much better than he can. Do you understand that Donald Trump has a lot of power right now, but do you know how much more powerful he would be if he stopped engaging in hyperbole? Like I said, hyperbole does its job in getting us focused on an issue, but as an effective way of convincing someone of your position, not so much. Because then you're going to start demanding examples of what it is that of your position as to why you are hyperbolic in your position. Anime getting banned tomorrow. The minute I turn on my anime tomorrow, if my anime is still up and running in the United States tomorrow, that puts his credibility at risk. And using an outfit that banned themselves and weren't banned by the convention as evidence of your position that anime is being banned does not help you whatsoever. But those are my thoughts. Jump down in the comments and let me know what you guys think. Are you guys more in tune with Chibi Reviews overall? Or do you think he needs to pull it back just a little bit in regards to how he's presenting this issue so that he can be more effective in trying to get people to wake up and see, hey, maybe we should probably not be so hyperbolic. Let's have more evidence that supports our position into what's happening. Whatever your thoughts, jump down in the comments. Let me know what you think. And make sure you do like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. All that stuff does help me out. And remember, this is Chris Bolt signing off, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take it easy.